All right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back, everyone, to another weekly edition of the Multi Buzz Show. I hope you guys are doing well out there. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we got some people already in the live session. So, pleasure to have you guys here already. Floating Man is here. Assalamu alaikum. Aslam is here. Ibn Hamid here. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everybody to the live stream. Arsalan is here. Welcome. We'll let everybody join in so we can get started. If everyone could just go ahead and tweet out that we're live. I didn't have a chance. I've been kind of super duper busy because I've got just stuff going on. Was unable to get everything steady. Hold on, let me just put this on. There's stuff going on. I gotta tweet this out on Twitter real quickly, so everybody knows that we are live. Because unfortunately, I've been so busy with with everything going on. I had some work issues last week where it kind of put me back on some video making time, and so I apologize for that. I've been kind of quiet on social media as well too. So I do apologize. I'm just tweeting this out on Twitter so that people know that we are live. I hope you guys are doing well, by the way. It's been, I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. Alaikum assalam. Badal wa alaikum assalam. Seeking true knowledge. Welcome to the show. Let me just get this out on Facebook as well too, so we don't forget our Facebook family. But yeah, a lot of things are in motion right now. As far as the election and other things like that, I kind of wanted to talk about that, so that we can go ahead and maybe talk about some of the issues around that. So it is pretty much official. Joe Biden has become the president-elect of the United States of America. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, Maliki Click. Welcome, Fatuma. Welcome to you guys all here to the show. Pleasure to have you guys. Yes, Minat Ibrahim, long time. No, see, I've been busy. I had some things going on with work and other things, and just been busy in general. So I couldn't make some videos, but inshallah, I plan to make some of these videos. But look, let's talk about Joe Biden for a second. And let's talk about this. Wa alaikum salam, Shahzad. So yes, Joe Biden has won the election. I personally am happy about that. I mean, I'm not saying Joe Biden is going to be somebody that is going to be the savior of the Muslims, but it's a change of attitude. And I've long said this even on the Mad Mamluks that one of the jobs of a president is to create a certain tone for a country. Whether we believe him or not, whether he actually delivers on that or not, is irrelevant because words are important. And this is especially important for people that feel vulnerable, for people that are men and that understand that, we don't trust these people or we can handle ourselves. But when there are children involved and when there are women and elderly and sick, and when you hear a president say that he wants to, he calls for a complete and total shutdown of Muslims versus a president who says, when I'm president, Islam will be treated like every other religion. There's a huge difference in the way people perceive that psychologically. And I think that is important, regardless of whether they deliver on that or not, right? Because we know politicians are just politicians, right? They're going to run their mouth and they're going to essentially, just try to get the votes they can. And we can only judge by what they do when they're in office and by their actions. But we hope that that we can hold them accountable. So let's get into some of the questions right now. More, do you think the Republican won't let JB lead America? Well, that is a two-sided question. If you mean that by him actually being elected by taking office, you mean if they're going to challenge it? I don't think the Republicans in general are going to challenge the election because the elections are the very fabric of the American democracy. To get the federal courts involved in an election process is not something advisable. I just don't see that happening. But the other angle is that the Republicans maintain control of the Senate, and they're gaining ground in the House. And maybe we might have a Congress that is Republican dominated. And in that regard, it becomes difficult for Joe Biden as a president to go ahead and implement change, because he has to constantly fight an uphill battle against legislators that control the Congress, right, which will be Republicans. And that's kind of what Obama had to face while he was in office, right? And even to a large extent, to some extent, Donald Trump, because the House was controlled by the Democrats, right? So you couldn't just push through all these changes. So they might have to resort to some of these executive privileges or executive orders that will be used to reverse some of the policies. So do I think that they will be able to do that? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Hold on, let me see. Do you think Republicans would like JB? I don't know if they'd like him, but I think within the Republican camp, they view that Donald Trump as a wild gun, and they don't know. Like Joe Biden is more of an old-term Democrat. He's more center, so he's been working with these people for years. They kind of know where he is. They kind of know, what his stance are on things. They know he's not going to just shoot at the hip. He's more predictable. So I think within the Republicans there are certain people that are probably relieved that they no longer have to deal with Donald Trump and his temper tantrums. But are they entirely looking for? They won't outwardly express that. But then there are some, there are some diehard Trumpansies that will, say that Joe Biden is the end of America, right? So there's two different camps here. But I think largely Republicans will welcome him, and we see this from Republicans right now, like Rick Santorum, like Jeb Bush, like Chris Christie, Marco Rubio. We see them coming out and congratulating Joe Biden. And so that's a good indication that they probably will have no issue working with him, and they are somewhat relieved. Dick Cheney is appointed a foreign advisor of Biden. What do you think of that? Well, if Dick Cheney, I'm not pleased with that. Dick Cheney should not be a foreign advisor. But I'm glad he doesn't hold an official capacity. Meaning advisors come and go. They don't have to necessarily follow the opinion. But Dick Cheney should be the last person to advise on the Middle East. Advisors come and go. But I do believe that even under Bush, think about this for a moment. Even under Bush, under crazy Dick Cheney, America never decided to move its embassy to Jerusalem. But yet under Donald Trump, he gave total power to his son-in-law to go ahead and establish this as something unprecedented. So understand, I believe that as much as I don't like Dick Cheney, I still believe that him being part of an administration that is less confrontational in that regards would still be able to be controlled better than what Trump is doing right now. I'm not saying it's going to be the best option. I don't trust him. I think he's a snake. He was the architect behind a lot of what happened in Iraq, especially behind Bush. And I think American people should keep a close eye on him, and we'll have to see. But yes, I don't think we should put any faith in that. Maybe JB is a two-faced person, just to putting this here. It could be. Why not? Politicians are always two-faced. No one's denying that. But what I'm saying is that having open rhetoric and having a president that appeals to racist undertones of society is something very different. And the reason why that's different is because when you normalize bigotry, that leads to discrimination. And discrimination is a problem because then you start normalizing that, and then it becomes normal to take away people's rights. So generally, fine, we don't like that people don't like each other. We wish people could get along, but at the end of the day, people have the right to feel the way they feel about blacks, about whites, about Arabs, about Islam, about Christianity, whatever. But the minute it begins to transition into the taking of rights and discrimination, it becomes a problem. And I think that's just where we have an issue with it. And that's why I feel like, yes, Biden could be a snake, but at least on the surface level, that at least the tone of the country will be different. We're not going to normalize bigoted behavior, which is always a positive, no matter how we look at that, in my opinion. Let's see what else we have here. Politicians need to be held accountable. Absolutely. Accountability is the biggest thing. Actually, that is the way a democracy probably works the best, is by holding people accountable and then by having to remove them from office if they don't meet the accountability. And I think that's probably one of the areas where Republicans have failed. They were, we call them Trumpanzees. They were blindly following Donald Trump, and they never held him accountable for what he said. And this also happens to Democrats with Obama, as far as ending the war, shutting down Guantanamo, so forth and so on. But accountability is always key when it comes to politicians on any side. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Red Core, welcome to the show. Tariq from France. Oh, well, we love you in France as well, too. And we hope that the French learn their lessons and stop discriminating against people. We make dua for you. And of course, we remember you in our dua as part of the ummah, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make it easy for you guys, inshallah. Joe Baz, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Check out Dear Muslims, Joe Biden is going to suck. I will definitely check it out. Is that a video? I don't know if it is, but we'll check it out. Hannah, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi Abdul Majid. You're a fellow Muslim, alhamdulillah. Welcome. Maliki Click, I made no secret of my support for Trump for measured research reasons. Personally, I don't like him as a person, but we don't like a person that elect him in politics. Yeah, so for me, I have personal reasons why I do not like Trump. And I think that's obviously, again, more for a personal reason. But I would say this, there are some positives and there's some negatives. But for me, I think it's time to have a president that people can actually take at face value. That, we don't have to constantly wait to go to the White House and see what he's saying. That doesn't embolden dictators, especially in the Middle East, like Mohammed bin Salman, that will go ahead and get away with killing of people, and we normalize that type of behavior. I think that, to be honest, putting a chokehold on Iran is also not a good idea, because not that I support the Iranian regime, but as politics speaking, Iran behaves the way it does because it is a broke country. It has no money and it's being pigeonholed. So a country is going to be more radical. If you provide more economic relief by way of trade and by releasing of funds, you tend to make them more focused on building their economy and less interested in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and other places like that. But foreign policy-wise, people keep saying, he's a less interventionist and this and that. I disagree. I mean, I think that Donald Trump if you look at the numbers, he's dropped about 400% more of drone attacks under Donald Trump than under Obama. I'm not saying that either one of them are better than the other. What I'm saying is that the policies of war and bombing and invading and regime change continue under all regimes. This is the American machine, the industrial military complex. This is what happens. But I look at from the perspective of Muslim inside of America. I believe that in general that it's better for me to have Biden here. Economically, people said Trump was great economically, but I'm looking at the markets, and Biden is about to be elected president, and the markets seem to be doing good. So that's a good sign that the market trusts that Biden will do good for the economy. We'll probably renegotiate some things, but of course, there are some things here and there. Some people like the Trump taxes. I didn't benefit from them, unfortunately. I was supposed to save money, but I paid more money. I don't know how that works, but again, everybody has their reasons. There's some domestic policies, some foreign policies, some personal beliefs and whatever, but regardless of what happened, America has a new president and it's a new dawn. It's a new era. What do you prefer, wolf in sheep clothing or wolf that looks like a wolf? Well, to me, it's more than that. It depends on how you look at it, poetic Andalus. Because when a child hears a wolf openly, it's scary for a child. These are not black and whites. It's different for me as a man. I would rather have an enemy in my face. But I don't want a child to be looking down a barking dog either, a wolf, right? Because that psychologically affects children growing up in America, right? When you have to hear a constant rhetoric of a leader of your nation emboldening people to say, go back to your country, you don't belong here, you come from a shithole country, you come from this, you are a terrorist. That kind of psychological effect affects children. And it makes them grow up in an environment which makes them more radical, to be honest. So for me, I don't think it's such a black and white question. We're not talking about black and white issues. There are many issues here: economic, spiritual, psychological, physical. There's a lot of different elements. And for each person differently in different parts of the country where they live, it affects them differently. So I don't think it's such a black and white question, in my opinion. Alaikum assalam, Raymond Venice. I'm doing well, alhamdulillah, inshallah, you're doing well. Nadia, wa alaikum assalam, welcome, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Did you see Paula White rant? Yes, she's crazy. Paula White is a nut job. I mean, this is Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. She's always speaking all kinds of crazy tongues, and Steve Bannon going crazy, wanting to behead politicians. The right wing has lost their mind. I mean, let's just be honest. They haven't really always been there, but they're going, they're going absolutely bananas right now. Riley, Holbrook, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi barakatuh, Shahzad. They should drag Trump out like the wheelbarrow from the White House. Well, if he doesn't leave, they will leave. If he doesn't leave, they will get him out in handcuffs. By January 20th, he has to vacate the office. That's it. Get him out. Yes, comment on Trump. I actually tweeted at Donald Trump. He deleted his tweet. He's a coward to me. I retweeted him again, and he better have, I think he left that up, but I don't trust him. He needs to get out. Shame on him for trying to undermine, a democratic process that he supposedly believes in. Okay, great. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi barakatuh. Call me Papa. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi barakatuh. Does this President-elect Biden, elect bi'idnillah, mean well for the Muslims in America? And well, again, being well, here's what I'm going to say about this. Does it mean well for Muslims? Maybe, maybe not. But in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls everything. Maybe Allah brings some ease with Biden being there, meaning that he makes things a little bit easier. But we can't make mistakes that Muslims also have their own struggle. Muslims have to fight against some of the Islamophobia. We have to fight against some of the poisons of liberalism. We have to fight against the internal and external the threats that we have as a community. A president, one single person, is not going to be our savior. Right, our faith, our protection, our iman, everything that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we trust in that. We trust in Islam and we trust in our Creator. Now, can we find some ease? Maybe we can. But don't forget, the Obama administration was not always, it wasn't always Muslim friendly. Sure, it may have sounded nice. I'm not saying that, Biden's going to be worse than Trump. But what I'm saying is that it's not like we're going to have a relief necessarily. Meaning that, we're not just going to have, everything's not going to be completely dandy for the Muslims, right? We know there are two camps that are there. People have their agenda. But I am of the opinion, I'm hoping we have good indication that at least the rhetoric in public against the Muslims will be down, right? Including in America and around the world. When Trump got elected, you saw a rise of right wing in UK with the rise of Boris Johnson. You had Bolsonaro in Brazil. You have Le Pen in France. You have a lot of right wing movements that because they look towards America to see what America is doing, and for whatever reasons, America has that impact in the world today. So I think it's an important move. And also, if you want to get into other things like climate change and things like this that are important. Yes, it can have an impact. In short, yes. It might mean Democrats act less nuts, but it makes me angry that they are only acting less nuts because they got their way. Maybe. Allahu Alam, but I think there's nuts on both sides. And I've seen extremes on both sides. And this is the politics in America. What can you say? Do you think that Trump? No. You know what? We can talk about this for a little bit. Do I think Donald Trump will leave the White House by force? I think right now I read an article that Jared Kushner is advising Trump to leave the White House. I think they're going to send a delegation of Republicans and high rank officials from the Senate and around to ask Donald Trump to concede. As much as he doesn't want to. I think he'll have to. Actually, I'll be honest. I don't think I would be surprised if Donald Trump leaves the country. I think the Southern District of New York has charges they want to file against him in private matters. And the reason why I think they haven't been filed is because it is a long-standing tradition of the Department of Justice not to indict a sitting president because it looks bad. Because technically, the Department of Justice serves at the pleasure of the president, right? So you can't just, just indict the president. So I think he's going to have to worry about tax evasion, tax fraud, money laundering, fake charities, fake universities, things like that he did that may come back. Don't forget, the reports brought up a lot of information about what his organization did, where they got their money, how they moved their money. They were looking into his taxes. This is a lot of information. And I think a lot of that can be revealed if he doesn't play this carefully. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, all the way from Vienna. How you doing? I wish I spoke Italian, but I don't speak Italian. But I love Italian food and I love Italian cars, and I own some Italian shoes, and the women in my family love Italian bags. So I guess we like Italy. For black Muslims, Biden may be better socially, but financially, Trump was better for black people. Could be, and could be not. But one thing we can learn is that maybe the Democrats have learned from Trump that black people need to have more funding, and that's how you get the excitement of the black community in terms of voting. So maybe it might be a lesson. Who knows? I mean, like I said, we have to wait for this to plan out. We can only judge Trump by what he did, not by what he said, right? So when we look at we'll have to look in 4 years and see what did Biden accomplish, right? What did Kamala and Biden accomplish? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What do you make of the Giuliani lawsuit? I think it's a clown fest. They even booked the wrong agenda. Like they were supposed to be at the Wyndham or something, some hotel, and they didn't book it, and they ended up doing it in front of some kind of parking lot. It was just a joke. I don't think they're going to hold any water. I mean, a few of his cases already came out and were dismissed. I don't think that it'll hold much water. And these, polling places were being monitored and observed by Republicans, by Democrats, even Republican senators and Republican governors in like Georgia were saying, look, this is just unfounded claims. We don't have that. No more Trump memes. I disagree. I mean, I think we had a lot of, Bush memes all the way up until Obama got elected, right? I mean, even afterwards, we had a lot of Bush memes, and I don't think that Trump is going to go silent. I think he's going to continue to use Twitter, and we're going to keep, and people are going to continue to make fun of him. One-term president who talked a lot of crap. And now people will have their way with it, I believe. Do you think Trump loss might change the trend of rising right-wing and mini Trumps? Of course it will. Absolutely, I believe it will. I think it shows overwhelmingly that the American people don't really accept that attitude. And that, as people, and I hate to say this not in an arrogant way, but a lot of countries in the world look up to America in terms of how America is moving and what we do. And I think that we as a nation also do project some image to the world. And I think that Americans now realize that, non-Americans maybe, that Americans are not all crazy people who support Donald Trump. They're not people who embrace bigotry and the insulting and diminishing of other nations and things like that. There are people who care about COVID. There are people who care about climate change. There are people who care about, just general human rights and general decency, right? So I do think it'll change the opinion of some people around the world. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Poetic Andalus. Trump needs to make a comeback in 2024. He may. I don't know if he will do it, but I think he'll be kind of old by then. What is he, 74? He'll be 78. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Imagine the next Trump Republican that will come about. He was created by both. Yeah. I don't think the Republican Party will be able to put somebody like a Trump. It'll be very hard. But unfortunately, he has kind of destroyed the Republican Party in a lot of ways, because the traditional Republican is not like Trump, right? You have a Marco Rubio, you have a Jeb Bush, you've got people like who else is there? Rick Santorum. You've got Mitt Romney. They're center, right? They're not really like crazy in terms of what they do. Hold on here. Let me just move this way. That's kind of getting in that way. Yeah, they're not really crazy in terms of what they do. So I think most of the I don't know how they're going to replace them. Maybe they might want to run Trump Jr. because he's pretty crazy too. So I don't know. Let me see here. Where are the comments? Okay. I don't think the elections are over just said. I think they are. Even look, when you have Bibi Netanyahu out of Israel, congratulating Joe Biden, I think it's pretty much a done deal. You know, big pharma will be happy in some ways, yes, but it may or may not be. I mean, don't forget, Bernie Sanders wants a position in the government, and he may tackle healthcare, right? He may tackle big pharma. So that could be, I mean, again, if you want to get an idea, watch the markets, right? Watch and see what happens, right? People will understand and react depending on the market. Money doesn't lie. Follow the money. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, Shamil. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Save a soul dawah. Sabur, okay. Abdul Ghani, I'm sorry. So Vienna is Austrian. I'm sorry. Vienna, I thought you meant Venice. I am so sorry. You're right. I read that as Venice. Vienna, Austria. Yes, I'm sorry. I read that as Venice. You're correct. My apologies to my friend. I was very close. I've been to Vienna. I should have known that. When I was living in Hungary for a little while, I went to Vienna. I was living in Hungary doing a project. And so I would go around in the area. I went to Bucharest. I went to Prague. I went to Venice. I went around. And so not bad. But Eastern Europe is not really my place. Very different for me, but interesting architecture. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. People has a lot of hope that Donald Trump will win. Do you believe the election was not conducted properly like it was said? No, the elections were done properly. I don't believe for a minute that there was fraud. I mean, large-scale fraud. Do human errors happen? Do glitches happen? Yes, but the ability to commit fraud on such a mass level is so tiny in America. This is just undermining a democratic process. I don't believe that it was done. I believe that the people came out to vote. The problem is that Donald Trump and the Trump pansies, they basically came and taunted people on the left. They taunted minorities. They taunted people. They were just very boastful. And I think that that made people mobilize and say, no, you know what? No, it's not going to be that way. And I think he ran his mouth too much. And I think if Donald Trump did not do that, to be honest, his policies were not very different than the Obama administration, and not too wildly different. But if he just put his head down and did his work, and didn't, always do press conferences and worry about me, I did this, I did that, and deny facts, right? I think he would have been reelected. I think people would have left him in term. But he just became too arrogant about it and ran his mouth. And unfortunately, that cost him the election. He pissed off too many people. He lost in key states where there were Hispanics and veterans and minorities and black people. Georgia, in Arizona, Pennsylvania, he just lost. Michigan, Wisconsin, places that he won last time, he lost because of his language. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope Republicans learn from this to focus more on free markets and traditional values than nationalism. Yes, perhaps that, or maybe just small government. Let me see. Biden has a record as a senator and vice president that you can compare with Trump's time in office. The problem is, Amr Sahih, is that a senator and a vice president don't really have too much influence. They can vote on certain things, and they can do things, but it doesn't really affect change. A president has a different kind of power, right? It's very different than being, in the highest office of the land versus being in a legislative body. And I think maybe perhaps you're privy to different information. And not to mention, when you might have a different attitude. People govern and react differently based on what positions they're in. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. When people are saying, 48 years, what has he done? What has he done? I don't know if that's a fair comparison, right? Because people kept saying, you know what, well, Donald Trump is 40 some odd years. What did he do? As a businessman, he went bankrupt so many times. He did this. What did he do? It's just not a good way to compare things. I don't believe that it's a good way. I think we have to look at it while he's in office and see what he does, in my opinion. Trump said this is not the end. He's just nonsensical. He's done. He's not going to, they're going to drag him out if he doesn't leave, bro. And they're going to drag him out. That's what I feel. It's upsetting how this has divided Muslims. More supported Biden, and I support Trump, but we have our views. Nothing. Yeah, I don't really care. I mean, look, it's not that I support Biden. I prefer him. Put it that way. To be honest, both of them don't give a crap about me. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just a regular Muslim. they don't really change me much at the end of the day, right? I mean, the thing is, like, I just feel like that we put too much trust in politicians. Politicians don't really, we shouldn't put that much trust in them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really not. My brotherhood, I mean, it's like two different teams. Like, I mean, if Maliki Click wanted the Lakers to win, I wanted the Bulls to win, it doesn't really mean that we're still not family, right? Whatever, it doesn't make a difference to me. I think Muslims need to step back and take a look at things. Realize that politicians don't necessarily control everything. Everything happens for a reason. Allah allows everything to happen for a reason, and He is the one that is in control, not politicians. Do you think Trump would have won if there was no COVID? Possibly, but I think not only that, I think low-key people, that was a big contributing factor. It solidified the opinion that he doesn't take accountability. And that was his biggest downfall too, his gloating and lack of accountability. He didn't want to say, yes, I messed up. Yes, I did certain things wrong. Yes, I was wrong on these things, and I'll fix it, right? He just kept saying, I had the best this, I did this, the best here, the best ever, the most ever, just kept gloating and gloating and gloating, and nobody likes that, right? Shahzad, let me see what he says. If it wasn't for the pandemic, Trump would have won. I believe that this was his downfall. Could have been, absolutely. We won't. I mean, that's definitely a position. We need more Rand Paul types. Rand Paul has his good and his good and bad. He's also a big supporter of Trump as well, which I feel like that is, we need men of character, men who stand with truth, not men who just bend because of the party. And I don't really think I have a rising star in the Republicans where I can say, you know what? I'll give you an example, and I hate to use him because I don't like Bernie Sanders' his entire policy, but I believe that he is consistent. For 30 years, the man, you can go back to his record, and he's been calling for the same thing for however long he was in politics. And not that I agree with it, but I can appreciate the consistency. Right? He was probably one of the most consistent people you can have as a politician. And I think that we need more politicians that are consistent like that. Mitt Romney, yeah, he's there. He's okay. I mean, he has some good, some bad, but he certainly would have been better than Donald Trump. Certainly a better understanding. What message can you give to the naive Muslims who support liberal politicians because they fear Islamophobia? So what I would say is, if you're supporting them for strategic interest, that's one thing. But do not embrace their calls, right? Do not think that they actually like you. Do not think that they actually love you. Take the position of Malcolm X, rahimahullah, who said that, there is no, liberal or conservative. They all want power, right? The liberal is also very conniving and will look at you, will smile in your face, but really have, an ulterior motive for you. So don't take it with a grain of salt, is my opinion. Everybody does what they can based on maslahah, like for survival, I believe, but do not put your faith in them. And I think that's what it means when we say awliya in the Quran. Do not take them as your awliya. Do not take them as people that as people that you rely on and that you trust and that that you think will give you what you need, because they are not people that are like that. That's my advice to them. Trump Jr. doesn't have the salesman like his dad. He doesn't, but he's been trying, Shamil. You see his book, you see his tweeting. His dad has influenced him, right? He started picking this up like his father did, right? He created the book. He started doing all of this, and I think he's trying to gear up to become like his father in that sense. Donald Trump put the American economy on an energy drink, quick recovery, bigger crash. Yeah, could be. But the problem is that he's basing his economy off of the stock market, and the stock market is not how we base an economy off of, right? Sure, volatility can make things happen, but it doesn't mean we have better paying jobs. We've tackled wage stagnation. We have better full-time jobs. What kind of jobs are you creating? Are they meaningful jobs? Are they actually jobs? Are they temporary jobs? There's a lot of problems with this. If you look at the numbers down, he actually really didn't do that much for the economy. If you had money and you had a 401k, yeah, maybe he did good for you there. But for the general person, I don't know. Maybe some of the tax benefits. I didn't benefit from, I didn't get recovery money. I don't benefit from that. I don't fall in that category, but some people do. So maybe that helps them. I don't know. But from my perspective, I just don't see what kind of major boost he did. I don't believe that giving money to people is a boost for the economy. It's just buying numbers essentially, right? So, although I'm not an economist, anybody can comment and prove me wrong. I just don't. I just didn't see the benefit in it. It could be me. I don't know. But I do think there was a good thing in him taking on China. That has to be addressed. I don't necessarily believe that's wrong. I think that China does have to be dealt with. It is a little bit aggressive in its policy towards America, in undermining America. And I think that he did had that conversation and did kind of confront that, which is an important thing. What about rising numbers of armed groups among the left and right? More, I talked about this earlier. I'm not really worried about that. Most of these people are just pansies. They do this stuff. They train on the weekends, and they're just like they're social clubs. I'm not worried about that, to be honest. There will be like protests, and there will be riots and stuff like this. But on a large scale, Mizan, I'm not worried about this stuff. I really don't think that it'll happen like that. It just the FBI and the CIA they always uncover. They always stop the plots of like these right-wing radicals every time it happens because they're just not smart enough to do it. I'm sorry to say this, they're just not smart enough. From kidnappings to X-ray laser guns to like bombing pipe bombs, they just don't get through. I'm not really worried about it, to be honest, Mizan. But I get it out there in the media, they hyped it up. And people like Vice Media, they also hyped up this stuff too, that there's growing right-wing militia, they're out there everywhere, and they're doing everything crazy, right? I mean, they hyped up this thing that every right-wing group is crazy. I don't think that is the case. There are some groups out there, right-wing people, that yes, they have right-wing ideologies, but they're more like prepper groups and doomsday scenarios, right? They're not really like gonna go out there to the major city and take things down. I think the hyperbole in the media needs to stop, right? The media has encouraged this divided society, and the media needs to be more responsible for how they project the image of certain people, in my opinion. The Afghan peace deal may have gone up in smoke, and Iran, which will receive money, which is bad for the Sunni Muslim world. So I talked about Iran earlier, and as far as the Afghan peace deal, I don't think it'll go up in flames. I think that the America generally wants an exit strategy, and if this is an exit strategy to give the power back to the Taliban, then so be it. I believe with Iran, though, yes, as a Sunni, I'm not a fan of the Iranian regime, but I think the Iranian regime also wants to survive as any other nation, and it does involve itself in foreign nations like the Arab surrounding states because it doesn't have an economy. When you give them a taste of the money, when you give them an economy, they will be busy with doing that, and its people will also want to have to focus on money and rebuilding the country. It'll distract them from and stop them from erratic behavior, in my opinion, by developing an economy, normalizing a relationship, having a talk with them, bringing them to the table, not putting extreme sanctions. No matter what you do, like putting extreme sanctions on any country or people is just going to make them more radical and further their cause, right? They're going to be in total survival mode. So I don't know if I'm entirely on board with the fact that it'll automatically be bad for the Sunni Muslim world. We'll have to see how that plays out. Allahu Alam. For somebody else. You guys don't even know Dick Cheney is going to be part of the show, but we just talked about that. We know that again, so you might want to scroll back in the video feed to talk about that. Muslims can arm themselves too. Absolutely. I am armed, and I believe everybody else can be armed as well too. What controversies or conspiracies do you expect to pop up in the Biden during the presidency? I believe Hunter Biden will still be a central thing. I believe the Republicans will use the Congress to create committees and investigative committees to investigate Hunter Biden and his Chinese connection. I believe they will talk about Russia. They will talk. I mean, there are a lot of things. Burisma, the Ukraine. They will continue. I mean, these things will continue. Maybe perhaps they might even try to dig up things on Libya. The whole Gaddafi thing, right? Maybe that will come up. Allahu Alam. But there's going to be a lot of things. But I don't know what else could really come up besides that. And who knows? Maybe something happens. Maybe he's not able to serve all 4 years. Maybe we're going to be dealing with Kamala Harris. I don't know, right? It's too early to tell. And politics have been wild as they are. So nothing surprises me anymore, Jay Perez. By the way, what up? What up, my Boricua? How you doing? Long time no see, brother. Good to have you here in the stream. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Abdi. Welcome to the show. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, James. Hold on, the comments are just going too crazy. I got to go back up and get everything. But you can tell they stand the policy. Yeah, yes and no. But I mean, yes, but again, politicians can change, right? I mean, when you're in different, and that's fine. I'm not saying they have to be consistent, but we should judge them on what they're doing right now, right? And because, people can change. This is the nature of politics. Circumstances change, attitudes change, nuances change, and so we have to kind of take a look at what happens, right? But yes, we can get a general idea of which way they lean. There's no doubt about it that Joe Biden leans more to center left, and I think we can get have an accurate projection of where or how he would approach the situation. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ahmed. Do you think we will have a repeat of 2000 when it was called? No, because we don't have one state. We have like 5 different states, and even if Trump loses or gains Georgia or Pennsylvania, Arizona and Nevada are still going to be like, in Biden's hands. He's already won no matter what, how you work at it, right? You're 100% right, Shamil. Ron is better than Rand. Rand is kind of like a shadow of his father. Ron was the one that actually had a lot of good policies of non-interventionism and things like that. Ron was much better as a politician than his son was. Do you think we are witnessing a fall of the U.S. empire? By extension, the West Europe is not what it seems to be, and U.S. has divided today. I don't know. It's questionable. I think under Trump, we could have possibly seen that because he was making Europe distance themselves away from America. But I think Biden is more of someone that Europe is friendly with. And he probably will rebuild those relationships to the point where America is seen as a viable and a suitable leader for a world leader. Right now, people are definitely questioning that under Donald Trump. So I think Biden, with his experience as being a vice president and being a foreign dignitary and having those relationships with individuals, will try to rebuild that, in my opinion. Sanders is consistent in his policy, but not his personal life. Being rich socialist doesn't look good. Well, I think he's a socialist democrat, which means that they're not entirely against to making money. They're against hoarding money. So I think if he was against taxes against him, that would be kind of indicative of him being a hypocrite. But I mean, I think of Sanders to be more of like a Nordic capitalist, right? Where in Nordic countries, they make a lot of money, but they also tax a lot, right? So I think if you look at it from that perspective, like the Nordic model, I think he falls in line with that. If I'm correct, I could be wrong. Many Trump supporters, Mary Trump destroyed Trump. When your own family members talk bad about you, it holds greater credibility. It does. Yeah, she didn't I think I didn't have a chance to read her book, but maybe I'll give him the chance to. I don't know. We'll see later on. Although I do think part of the factor in this election, Trump should have still won this by a landslide. Republicans really dropped the ball this time. I don't know. I really don't know about that. I mean, I feel like the Republicans really, they had an opportunity to build bridges, to bring in the blue dog Democrats, to find a viable option for DACA, for Dreamers, to find an option for immigration, for healthcare reform. They had the option to do that for 4 years. They controlled the Senate. They didn't take advantage of it. You know what I mean? I don't see how they would have won it. The whole thing that Trump was running on was me. Look at me. Look how great I am. Look at my booming economy. Look at the stock market. Look at the stock market. And that's not what people care about, man. I mean, it's partially what they care about, but it's not the whole country. And I think they couldn't control him. If I'm going to be honest, they probably wanted to handle those issues, but they couldn't. Donald Trump just didn't know how to deal with them. It just wasn't, and then having to deal with this whole thing about this weird love affair with like, Kim Jong-un, and then like defending people like, foreign dignitaries who just, kill a citizen. Like it was a very strange time. I just don't know what Republicans could have done. I mean, just a very strange presidency. It really was. It was almost like you don't know which way to go about it. It's just, they could have done more. The moderate ones, they could have worked to find these solutions, and, they could have built that bridge with the Democrats and said, we know Donald Trump is crazy. We agree with you. He's crazy, but let's try to find something to get done. Because if we bring it to him, he'll approve it because, he wants to approve from his base, right? They could have done something to get that done because largely Democrats and Republicans work together, on many bills. They do this. I mean, they're two sides of the same coin, right? They work. The left and right sides of the coin. They could have taken advantage, and I think they could have done that, and they didn't do that, and that is a shame. At least there's an equal power struggle in the USA where political differences among people is equally divided, whereas in fascist state like India, Modi is winning by landslides. Please make a dua for Muslims. Absolutely true. I mean, 100%. I mean, the fact that you're able to have civil, dialogue and discourse is an important thing. And I do think, and we do thank alhamdulillah, we thank Allah that we have the ability to have an opinion and to speak our mind and not to face our, retribution for our opinions and our voting and things like that, and not being forced into voting for anybody or being loyal to anybody. The real winner, I don't know, James. I really don't know. I think Bibi and Mohammed bin Salman are very nervous because the Obama administration, don't forget, Bibi Netanyahu had to come in and address the Congress without telling the president, like President Obama, because Obama wouldn't listen to him. Bibi really hated Obama. And I think he sees Biden as an extension of that. I think Mohammed bin Salman and Bibi were holding their breath because Trump let them get away with a lot. And Trump in Israel with the embassy and then the Golan Heights, renaming it the Trump Heights. Like, I mean, there was a love affair going on there. And I don't think that Joe Biden shares that same type of enthusiasm. I'm not saying he's not going to support Israel. He probably will, like every other president. But with that type of tenacity and enthusiasm, I just don't see it. I think that he's going to also try to normalize some of the relationships. I don't think that Bibi Netanyahu is particularly happy about Trump losing the election, in my opinion. Europe is in clearly in decline. However, the U.S. isn't. What America is going through is stagnation. It has everything material to continue existing as a successful entity. Yeah, I think that Europe is largely dependent on each other. America is largely independent of Europe. We really don't need Europe to survive as a nation, and we don't rely on small countries around us. But Europe is really facing economic hardship in ways and like how, and well, I think here's what's going to happen in Europe. Abdi Ghani. There's going to be a change of what kind of population lives in Europe. And right now the Europeans are coming to face with that reality. How do we make this work? What we knew as Europe traditionally for the last 50, 100 years is no longer the Europe that we had before. And how do we go about this? And they're at a crossroads. Either they accept that and they find a way to move forward and make, these communities part of that new future, or they just burn the whole thing down, right? And it just will have to go down to ashes and have a rebirth sometime later. China will love Biden, and Iran, possibly. It could be. I don't know about love necessarily, but yes, there will be some work there. America may have healthy demographics. It is going through a cultural degradation, which will ultimately lead to negative. It could be, maybe. Allahu Alam. I mean, there are definitely cultural shifts, even with a liberal society compared to a conservative society. Let's go on here. Russia angry about the results. So yeah, but I find it odd though that Putin is all of a sudden not going to be running now next year, like right when Donald Trump is gone. They say he's sick, but like right now, that announcement, I don't know. I mean, it seems a little bit odd to me, but hey, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? But let's see. Most people don't realize the politicians serve mainly the lobbyists who contribute to campaign. And this is why I've been saying over and over and over again that Muslims need to put their money into super PACs and into lobbyists and not into campaigns. Money talks. When the election is over, the lobbyists go to work and they petition politicians to vote on issues that are important, and they pay them with money, and that is how they operate. So I believe that yes, lobbyists are the main winners here. They always tend to control what is happening. So let's go on to the next comment here. There's still until January. Imagine seeing if some sort of fraud is actually uncovered or civil war. Yeah, maybe. Again, I think that kind of mass fraud is not really going to be there. I think we can tell by the markets that it's not really going to be there. Again, like I say, follow the money, James. If there's real volatility, if there's real, like, a real threat of a civil war and fraud, you're going to see massive shifts in the market. And those people are pretty much they're pretty intelligent when it comes to it. In short, America hasn't peaked; it's plateaued. Possibly in some ways, that may be true. I don't know if we've plateaued in terms of ingenuity and development. Maybe in terms of I don't want to say progressive or democratic values, but I want to say in terms of that balance between government and state, like state and religion, like morality and conservatism and liberalism. I think that is where America is struggling right now, right? And I think that can be a big issue that will cause a downfall in America in the future. That struggle, that internal struggle, and the extreme polarizing opposites, and the adjusting to different attitudes and a new generation, that can be very stressful. And I believe that might be the case. Allahu A'lam. Again, I'm not here to predict the future, but let's see what happens. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ibn Salim, welcome to the show. Ibn Salim or Ibn Salim, I'm not sure. Can you all hear more? Because I can't. Can you guys hear me? Hello? Do I have sound anymore? Hold on here, guys. Let me see. All right, let me see if my audio again. Is my audio good? Yeah, I think my audio should be okay. Do I have audio? Can I get an audio check, guys? Okay, good. All right, yeah. I think someone said they couldn't hear me for some reason. I don't know why. But anyways, let's go back. Trump's rhetoric may be bad, but his policies were surprisingly good in my opinion. Okay, very good. Yes, that could be there. I don't think his policies were. I don't disagree. I think his policies weren't they weren't really different than what Obama did. Obama deported people. Obama went to join wars. Obama built a border fence. He did the same thing. Obama deported people. Obama wanted to do some, healthcare reform. Trump wanted to do some, prescription drug reform. It's just maybe in differences of the military. Trump wanted to spend more money in the military. Obama wanted to spend less. But in general, most of it wasn't really that different. I don't see his policies being, again, I say it's not his policies. It was the way that he said it. It was the way he went about it. He couldn't effectively deliver that and make the American people understand that what he was doing is what America should have been doing. And, maybe there's some changes that, we disagreed with, but minor ones. But his biggest problem was articulating that to the American people. The language he used, and this is why it's important when I say that language, I said earlier on in the show that language is very important. Language and character and the tone for the country is very important. Anyways, Fatuma says yes. Okay. What Trump did with China, actually stupid. He pushed them to be more dependent on themselves and let them the past 4 years to invest more in the technology, the long run. It could be. Good point, Abdul Majid. That's why we see Iran technically has developed more than the Arab countries have, because the Iran had to rely on itself more than. It's not that the Iranians are smarter or better. It's that they had to rely on themselves and to develop their own economy and to develop their own car and airplanes or technology and so forth and so on. And I think that that was a factor. So maybe that could be what happens with China too. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Cool kids, welcome. Good to see you, brother. Muzzy Buzz, did Trump put an end to the FBI entrapment program? I don't know if he did that. I know there was some talks about that, but I don't think it actually materialized. I think he probably may have increased some surveillance at the end of the day, but Allahu Alam, I have to look into it. Can't comment on that. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome. Wa alaikum assalam. Romul Amin. Maliki Click says politics days is like watching WWF back in the days. Yeah. The Andre the Giants, the Hulk Hogan's, the Iron Sheik. Remember that? We're gonna make you humble. Hacksaw Jim Duggins, all those good old school wrestlers. Biden plans to stop Erdogan from getting elected in 2023 elections. They can try, but I think Erdogan has the support of his people, and he may try that. I don't know. I know the Saudis would like to see that happen, but I think that Biden is going to have to try to work with. See, here's the thing. Biden is in a tricky spot because Trump made people not trust America anymore. And Biden has to worry about rebuilding that trust. It's easier to do regime change when people trust you. When people don't trust you, it's harder to have regime change, right? So I think he's going to have to tread very carefully. Maliki Click is saying, yeah, exactly, could be right. What is your opinion of Andrew Yang? He's a smart guy. I think he has a future. I liked his freedom bucks. I think it's a good idea. The way he explained it. I think rather than investing in government programs, invest in people. I think he's very smart. I think maybe a little too smart for the people. I think that he was too technical for the people. He kept trying to talk about numbers and science and math. He just needs to be more political. He needs to be, and I think he has to be more presidential in a way that you just got to spit out things that people want to hear, right? You can't just break down everything down in numbers to them. Most people who listen to you are dumbed down people. But yeah, what do you think about voter fraud taking? I don't believe there is voter fraud taking place. I think it's just I think it's a farce. I don't think a massive voter fraud is taking place, in my opinion. I talked about that earlier, by the way, so you might want to go up there. Is it true windmills cause cancer? Not entirely sure about that. I don't think they do, but I think we do need to have some kind of some conversation about renewable energy. I believe renewable energy can be used. There are positives and negatives about it, and I think that there's no harm in having a conversation about that. My stepdad served as a 3-star general and has briefed Trump a number of times. He told me the first time he tried to brief him, Trump wanted to instead talk about the numbers. Man, do you know when I realized Trump was stupid? Maliki Click. In 2016, when there was a presidential debate going on, and Dennis Prager asked him about the nuclear triad, he couldn't answer. He started saying about how he wasn't for the war in Iraq, and how powerful nuclear power is, and the immense power of nuclear bombs. Like, he had no idea what he was talking about. He was a moron. And in that moment, I realized that this is the worst person you could possibly have as your commander-in-chief. I mean, absolutely horrible. Yeah, but that's kind of funny. He'd rather be talking about numbers at inauguration than military issues as a commander-in-chief. Do you believe in a deeper state? Do you not describe the paradox of voting or contribution to minuscule any possible realistic outcome? No, I don't think it's a deep state. People need to understand that we have a democratic republic, which means that you don't get a direct vote. You don't have a direct voice in your democracy. You vote for representatives that best represent your voice, and then go over there and have them represent you and lobby for you. And I think what's been convoluted though is that when you allow big business inside, when you allow lobbyists to lobby politicians, and you allow unlimited campaign funding and things like that, that's where it becomes problematic. But do I expect my my voice to be heard every time I say something? No, I don't think we really live in a direct democracy, and that would be chaotic. If everyone had to be heard, it would be, chaotic. I think. Imagine having to hear from 300 or 200 and some 20 million who are voting, right? Voting age. That would be crazy. I don't see how. It's just, yeah. I don't know, but maybe I didn't get the question right. But are there people that are working behind the scenes and have ulterior motives? And are there other government programs and things like that? Yes, absolutely. I believe in this. I believe that there are. I don't think that everything is transparent. I believe the government has certain things that it does. But as far as like this deep state being controlled by just money makers and bankers and I don't think it's that kind of conspiracy. But definitely money and people of influence like corporations, bankers and things like that. They have greater access to politicians and legislators, which is always a problem. Chinese civilization is rising. If there's not a war between the West and China in the next 3 decades, then advantage China as their middle class. Sure, yes, that is true. Absolutely. I don't think he did. I think we talked about that. I don't think you want to start a war with China. But yes, that's possibly true. Yeah, but there's one difference here. One disadvantage that China has. And I don't know if you guys know this, Abdul Majid, but China has the same problem that Russia has. And that is mobility of the army. That is one advantage that America has. The amount of aircraft carriers you have, the amount of the Air Force that we have. America has strategically placed, aircraft carriers around that region where we can block off the Pacific Rim, which blocks China into, block their waterways, so they cannot ship out, and they're largely landlocked. They cannot mobilize over their entire nation. And I think, sure, they have surface to air, they have air defense, but the amount of pressure that economic pressure that America could impose on China. China has massive land, but they import so much food. Their farming and agriculture is not where it should be. So they import a lot of food from other places. And I think that is one of China's biggest downfalls. But again, they are a formidable force. They can fix that problem. They can address that problem. So America does need to tread carefully. The United States relies on stability of allies. Yes, absolutely. Muslims have more values with conservatives. Yes, we do have more values with the conservatives, but it doesn't always mean that the conservatives have your interest as well too. It's a pick and choose game. That's why policies matter, not groups. We shouldn't be picking a group, because you can find policies on both sides that are also there, because there are certain values that Muslims have in common with the left. For example, monetarily, right? We do increase, we do want to give people, sadaqah and money, and we do have empathy for people that need help. We do empathize with the less fortunate, things like that. There are certain elements of the left that we also do agree with. But I believe in terms of moral compass, yes, we're more in line with the conservatives and many issues in that way. We've got a time for a few more questions. It's been an hour here, guys. Wonderful comments, but I'm going to get to a few more and just get down. Let me see the last few ones on the bottom. I've been kind of catching up. Let me just go down here. Let me select one good one. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me see if I have a good question. I think this is a good one here. Do you think another war similar to the Iraq War will happen within Biden's time as president? So no. I think America is trying to get away from starting wars and having a declaration of war. But with that being said, are there going to be operations that America does around the world in terms of Yemen, Pakistan, North Africa, even South America. Yes, America will continue to do this. America has always done this. This is about their own interest. It's not about, keep in mind, these wars, these drones, all this stuff, this is not about people. This is about what benefits America's interest and what benefits politicians, what benefits their stronghold, right? And if it's in the interest to do something, they're going to do it. They're going to protect it because their number one interest is to make sure that they retain power, they maintain, financial dominance, they maintain military dominance, and they maintain strategic dominance, meaning in terms of, in world power. So yes, I don't expect some kind of random decrease in numbers of drone strikes and bombs and regime change, and no. But I do think America is shifting how they do it, right? I just think that now with the reliance on drone technology and other things like this, you don't have to deploy a military now to get your desired results, right? There are things you can do from the press of a button now. And then also, regime change will always be there. They will always look for puppets who are going to cater to your own interest. And so I do expect that to continue. But do I think that we're ready to start a war? I don't know. I mean, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. I think we've got to get things. I think the world is kind of on edge right now because of that. Unless someone provokes them, like unless Kim Jong-un tries to bomb Guam, for some crazy reason, because we got rid of his boyfriend from the White House, maybe, maybe that might happen. I don't know. But in general, I don't think that'll happen. But I think we got other things to worry about. All right, guys, this was amazing. We got a chance to talk about Biden 2020. Let's see what happens. I will definitely be commenting on the upcoming events that are happening, the transition, what happens to Trump, what do I think will happen with Biden. I will be periodically making commentary on that. I have another video coming out this week to regular kind of video. I do apologize for last week for keeping it casual with Sheikh Amr. I got busy with some things and I couldn't unfortunately get to it, so we missed that episode. But we will be back on this Thursday with Sheikh Amr with keeping it casual, and we'll definitely have more material coming out. So if you like the content, make sure that you subscribe and become a member on this channel, or you can become a member on Patreon. The Patreon members have already seen the video that is going to be coming out this week, inshallah. So if you guys want early access and just other extra videos that I make, make sure you become members. I also got some new gear, the Muzzy Buzz gear that's coming out. Check the description. These are also design brands that I have. If you want the gear, you want the shirt, you like them, it's good quality, make sure you guys go to the description and check that out. Also, real quickly, this episode was also brought to you in part by the Arabic Grammar Unlocked. If you guys are struggling with the Arabic grammar and you want to get a better understanding and an easier breakdown, this book is based on a classical book called Al-Ajrumiyya, which you can go find in Amazon down below. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out if you guys are interested. Thank you, Nadia. Inshallah, this week we'll be back on with that. I apologize. My deepest apologies to you guys for not being there. I should have put a notice out, but it was a last minute thing and I was unable to get out. But inshallah, we will continue this week. All right. So with all that being said, I appreciate you guys. For all of you that made it to the end, I know it's tough to listen to me for a long time, but I definitely appreciate it. As always, you guys have been amazing, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again in these upcoming weeks and all the good stuff we have out there. So inshallah, we will talk. Remember, comment, subscribe, like, share, and get your questions in for this Thursday for Sheikh Amr, and make sure you give me your suggestions, inshallah, and be safe. Right, all you people out there in France and other places where things are getting crazy, be safe. We make dua for you and we love you. You're in our prayers, and we'll get through this. Stay safe in the pandemic. Things are getting crazy everywhere. Don't lose hope. Verily, after hardship comes ease. So Allah will bring ease to all of us and to the world, inshallah. Just be patient, okay? We'll see you guys later, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.